Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
But tell me, Eddie, is that a rabbit in your pocket, or you just happy to see me?
Okay, to kind of call out Mr. Bentham, Kamala Khan can fuck right off. So she would not make any list in top comic book characters at all. But welcome everyone. It is the top 10 for the month of September, and we were counting down pretty much our own personal subjective list of top 10 comic book characters, and it was kind of difficult for me to narrow it down to 10 because every time I made the list, I would remember another character that I liked. So, because there's a lot of characters that I like to include. Probably, if I included the X-Men at all, I probably would have had half the list be at least X-Men characters. So, but there it is. So like I said, it's difficult for me to narrow it down to 10. But I finally got it. And so went through it today. And the top 3 were pretty much easy for me. After that, it was difficult to get 7 more. But anyway, so before I say hello to the chat, Stieg, let everybody know where they can find you and all that fun stuff.
On Twitter, takes me 6 to 12 months to follow back though, because I don't even know how many followers I have. I don't check that. I just blurt out shit on Twitter. So yeah.
Before I say hello to the chat, let me tweet out that we're live.
Also, I'll be on this channel next week, I believe, at the same time.
Yes, roughly the same time. Because I was responding to an idiot on Twitter, so I forgot to tweet out that we were going live.
I'll forgive you because I heard about that idiot, and you're completely forgiven. I sympathize, and I understand how you feel, and I support you, madam.
Yes, I was responding to someone in my mentions under the Rivendell post. Basically, like my Rivendell post, for the people who don't have not seen it on Twitter, is pointing out that according to rumor, that they would be showing most likely showing Rivendell in season 2. And I point out that it really doesn't make any sense for Rivendell to be shown in season 2 because it's not founded until the year 1697, which is nearly 100 years after the Rings of Power. All the Rings of Power are completed, pretty much. Actually, over 100 years, because the Rings of Power themselves are created from 1500 to 1590. In the Second Age, and then 10 years later, Sauron reveals himself with the One Ring, and then 97 years after that, following certain events, Elrond founds Imladris, aka Rivendell, as a refuge for the Noldor, basically the survivors of the Elven army and their families. So I point out how it's going to break lore yet again, and this guy in my mention says, how do you know we won't, what's his response real fast? It's just like, who's to say we won't run up to 1697 in season 2, which again makes no sense, because first off, we don't even know what fucking year this season 1 even took place. Secondly, because the timeline is all over the place. You have Tar Palantir alive during the events of Rings of Power, yet he's not born until 3035 in the Second Age, so basically 1500 years, roughly, after the Rings of Power are supposed to be created. Right, so he's not even supposed to be fucking born yet. Elrond is not even a commander of the Elven army. He's a herald. And no One Ring created, because Sauron has revealed himself. So,
also, he seems to think they're just going to kill off all the human and hobbit characters from old age then.
Yeah, so...
set up their stories and just abandon them to...
since hobbits weren't even mentioned during the Second Age, they shouldn't even be in the show.
Nope.
So, and that's again, people will defend it and say that, likely hobbits were alive then. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. We don't exactly know when exactly they came into being per se, but at the same time, if you're going by the source material, they weren't even mentioned until the Third Age when they were discovered. So, So they even shouldn't be in the show. But yeah, but member berries. You remember hobbits, right? You like the hobbits.
Yep.
Anyway. So that was so I was responding to an idiot and I completely forgot to tweet out that we were going live. So there it is. But anyway, yes. So from the top, thank you all for waiting around for that little rant of mine for a topic that we aren't even talking about. Trey, yes, I can call your number one, and chances are you'll actually be surprised when my number one is. But most probably surprised. Ms. Martin Muses, hello, good to see you. Mr. Bentham, what is up? Gravy D said, "Have a fun stream. Will be lurking. No worries. No worries, Gravy. Yeah, you can do that. Only a minute late because we were talking backstage. So, Agent Luke, what's up? Sorry, had a hiccup. Good to see you. Moobut, being the DC fan that I am and not being a Bat fan, I'm probably not going to want to listen to this one. Well, I mean, I will say Batman is on my list, all right? But not all the characters. Most of the characters are DC because I grew up with DC, but I do have a couple that aren't even DC or Marvel, and a couple Marvel. Yeah, so most of them are DC, but not all. Let's see.
Mine are so basic, it's ridiculous.
I'm fine. I'm tired. It's Wednesday. Did not sleep well last night, so probably not going to go into details necessarily on like what the characters themselves. I said this yesterday, and I'm going to say it again. Dan Blackroyd and Gravy, they wake up every day and they think to themselves, the first thought they think to themselves is, what hill am I going to choose to die on today? So there it is. Jag, what is up? I'm still just impressed Future Avengers managed to make Carol Danvers likable. Well, see, the thing is, she would, like, early on, I wouldn't say she was likable, but she was tolerable. She wasn't like she is to now. Like, they full on, like, made her character worse. Now she's back to being tolerable. Subhuman, what is up? Darkwing Duck is a great superhero of all time. If we were including an animated form, I would have included Darkwing Duck because I grew up watching that cartoon. It was one of my favorite ones to watch. Keely, what is up? Orange Hat Reviews, good to see you. Yes, I'll be live there tomorrow, most likely playing. I guess there's another open beta of sorts for X Defiant. Most likely, I won't be able to play it before the evening, so I'll probably only be able to play for like an hour to an hour and a half of it by the time I'm actually able to start. So I don't even know if the servers will be working then. Yeah, Lint Liquor, pretty much. Oh, shut up, Dan. Let's see. Yes, that is my throne. It's kind of like equivalent of an Amazon wish list. So I do have some stuff on there to include a Lord of the Rings chess set because I think it's awesome. Let's put it that way. And the stream will be mirrored on my Rumble in case anything happens. So yes. Yeah, straight out of the Shire. They were murder hobbits. There was an episode, I shit you not, there was an episode where, like, part of their whole ceremony of sorts before they travel again is to remember those who have fallen, either died of natural causes, killed in some way, and so forth. But those they've lost, they have a remembrance ceremony, all right? Then the very fucking next day, because it's revealed that one of the murder hobbits was harboring a human, or the stranger, aka not Gandalf, close to where the murder hobbits lived, they were ready to abandon that hobbit family, pretty much. And to the point where even this cunt of a hobbit was telling the leader to take their wheels, further leaving them to die to the elements or other forces, pretty much. You literally had the night before them remembering those who have fallen, and then the next day they're contemplating leaving them and taking their wheels. I shit you not. Condiment King for you. Yeah. Rivendell Crypts, yes. You have one non-DC Marvel character. I was saying like she was tolerable. I don't know if I would exactly say she was likable, but as Carol Danvers was Ms. Marvel, right? Before she took the moniker Captain Marvel, because Captain Marvel actually was Monica Rambeau first. But I remember Ms. Marvel. Ms. Marvel was good, she was good, but then they kind of made her Captain Marvel and made her Karen. So I'm just saying, when she was Ms. Marvel, she was fine. Now she's when they made her Captain Marvel, it's yeah, no thanks. But there it is. Again, another little rant about Rings of Power. But anyway, it is our top 10 comic book characters. And like I said, they most likely, chances are, most are going to have either DC or Marvel because they're the two big companies, right? But it wasn't narrowed down to those companies because I have two characters that aren't really DC or Marvel on my list. And include not just heroes, but villains. As long as you like the character, it doesn't matter if they're a hero or a villain or an anti-hero and so forth, pretty much. And like I said, it's hard for me to narrow it down to a top 10 because there are so many characters that I grew up very much liking for different reasons. But anyway, so for those who are new to these streams, what we do is Stieg rolls a d20 die to see who goes first.
Always fucking likes you on these streams.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much on D&D. Well, actually, it's not so bad on D&D, really, unless there's a monster.
Well, yeah, unless there's a monster, because last D&D session, I nearly died getting choked to death by a Sasquatch.
Yeah. And she's been swallowed by giant toads twice. Burned to half a crisp by a flaming lizard.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Duck bunnies? Did they do anything?
No, but I nearly died when Nina cast that fireball spell and nearly killed all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Ghost Lady. The ghost of Lady Paltrovia. She almost got you in the graveyard.
Yeah.
She had cause, though, technically.
Yeah, well, I regret nothing about what I did. Anyway, hey, Calix. What was I going to say? Oh, but so far, as far as those I've killed in these C&D sessions, I've killed an undead raccoon, 5 midgets, and 6 Nazis.
Yep. Teresa's killed Bigfoot, and
yeah,
Nazi.
So she had the final shot off. Yeah, so she killed Bigfoot.
The Jersey Devil too.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, okay, so
okay,
I will say 11 to 20.
20. Wasted a 20 for next Sunday. Damn it.
Yes. Hey, Psychotic Mongoose. No, they were on motorized scooter bikes and skateboards or something like that, and I killed 5 of them because they were chasing us in Teresa's van.
Snow White was lubed up.
Yeah, she was lubed up, and she no, Teresa shot at her but didn't kill Snow White.
Which means I can use her later.
Yes, Teresa taunted the Nazis in German, but she taunted them by saying she was a Jew.
Yep.
Which nearly got our plane shot up. Anyway. Oh, I didn't just knock out an old man. I knocked out an old man plus the 20-something-year-old bimbo that was fucking him. You do not mess with a woman's sleep.
You did that before in the Conan thing. That priest with the prostitute.
Yeah, because we needed answers from the priest, and I wasn't going to wait around for him to blow his load, so I just pulled the prostitute off of him.
Yeah. Broke
Anyway.
the connection.
Yes.
Took the Wi-Fi.
Anyway, so, okay. My first character is really the only female character on my list. And like I said, if I were to include any of the X-Men, the chances are they would have taken up half the list because there are plenty of female characters from the X-Men that I very much like. But I did not include them because I didn't want it to be, like I said, half X-Men on the list, pretty much. So my number 10 is, I wouldn't say she's an unknown character, but she's probably a character that most, unless you're like a very big DC fan, probably wouldn't know too well, and that is the character Zatanna. She's known as Zatanna. She's known as Zatara. Like her father's name is Zatara, and she is part of the what's the group called? It's like Magi, pretty much. Magi. Like basically, she's able to wield magic, and she to kind of hide the fact that she's wielding real magic, she performs illusions and so forth as like a magician, essentially. So she's able to do these tricks, and people believe that she's just performing illusions, but in reality, she's actually performing genuine magic. And part of the way she's able to cast the form of magic she uses is that she recites the sentences like backwards. Pretty much, it's like one of the ways that she's able to wield this power, and so forth. She's also basically, like I said, she's the daughter of the magician Zatara, so she's known as Zatanna. She's known as Zatanna Zatara, depending on whom you talk with. She's been in comics since in the mid '60s. Since she's basically is part, like, you know, if you look up her characters, she's associated with pretty much like Justice League Dark, essentially, particularly with John Constantine and so forth. So she's really in tune with battling the malevolent forces themselves versus, like, you know, basically like I don't want to say run of the mill villain, but it's like the more demonic forces like that, malevolent and so forth, spiritual, rather than, like, say for example, like the physical forms that you would see like Superman battling or any of the other characters. So she's my number 10, and I would love, and I have a Zatanna costume of sorts, so I can dress as her. But what I need, see that magician's hat there? I either need to find one that actually fits my head, or find a way to line the inside of that one so it doesn't look like this. Right here, I'll show you. So this is my top hats. Okay. My head is that small. See? But there it is. And that's my Lord of the Rings book on the bed that I was using to take a picture of the timeline to school that idiot, pretty much. So yes, I have a Zatanna costume. I do have a Zatanna costume. But yeah, that is my number 10.
Well, my number 10 is, well, it's a side character from a movie, or from several movies, that got to shine in the comics, and it's Lando Calrissian. Because the old Marvel Star Wars comics I had when I was a kid, a heck of a lot of them featured Lando. So I probably started reading in the Lando period of the comics, right? And that's probably the format where he gets to shine the best, because the EU kind of neglected him a bit in the novels. You know, they had him in the. He did get a trilogy in the 80s, but he was tossed aside, wasn't he? Because it was all about Jedi after a while.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Yeah, but in the Marvel comics, which weren't really canon, they were like low tier canon, right? Their own thing, more or less. But in those, he got to really shine, and it was written by women, by a woman, Mary Mary Duffy something. So yeah, no women in Star Wars, eh?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, never was women in Star Wars until Kathleen Kennedy took over, apparently.
Yeah. So yeah, Lando gets to be the scoundrel he's made out to be in the movies, in those comics. And it was great. Cheesy as heck though, those comics, but sometimes that's what you need, isn't it? Just some cheesy, mindless fun. To disconnect your brain. And those comics did the job. So Lando, almost the MVP of the old Marvel comics, in my opinion.
So to answer Trey, I think technically there was a live action version of the character Zatanna, but it was in a TV series. I can't remember which one, but there was a live action version of Zatanna.
Ava Green should play her.
I think Ava Green's a little too old. She looks the part, but I think she's a little too old for the character.
Well, she looks younger
so
than she is. She's probably 70 now, but she eats the right porridge, so she doesn't age.
I don't think she's 70. I think she's younger than that, but she's still a little too old.
I think she's in her 40s.
Yeah, she's a little too old. Yeah, she would like this actress here. She would do well. Like she's like the right age. She has
the look.
Yeah,
but her acting is kind of wonky. But who would be really good? The one who was in the last Pirates movie, who played Barbossa's daughter.
I haven't seen the last Pirates movie.
It wasn't horrible, actually.
I'm not thinking it was. I'd like never bothered past the third one. So
yeah.
But anyway, so his line was in Smallville. Yeah, I was saying I knew there was like live action versions. Like there was Smallville, and there was like another. I think like she's in another series, one of the DC series. Like she wasn't exactly a major character, but there were live action versions of her. But yeah, so all right. So our number 9s.
Yeah, my number 9 is probably was my favorite superhero when I was very young, and it's the Hulk. I mean, he's big, pissed off, and smashes stuff. Right?
Yeah, pretty much.
When I was like 6 or 7 years old, and I saw the Hulk, lift a tank and throw it through a skyscraper or something. It was awesome. Looking back though, you can't do that much with Hulk. He's not that interesting by himself. He's being chased by the army, and you need to come up with aliens or monsters for him to fight, right? So there was a lot of that kind of stuff, but still, it's fun. The Hulk is and the Hulk stole the show in the Avengers movie, in my opinion. The first one, before they cucked him. But yeah, the Hulk going for one of the classics.
I think more on people screw up Lord of the Rings timelines.
Yeah, she actually turns green. I've seen it.
So, but anyway,
most D&D sessions, she is a dark shade of green.
That can make me frustrated. But anyway, okay. So, my number 9 is another DC character, and like this character and another character is partly because my dad grew up. They were my dad's favorite heroes to read when he was a kid. So part of that, two of the characters on my list are the fact that I like the characters and a little bit of nostalgia for me, and that is Green Lantern. So my number 9 is Green Lantern in this case, but it's Hal Jordan, because that's the one that my dad grew up reading, and I have a little bit of affinity for Hal Jordan because I am an Air Force vet. Right, Hal Jordan was a former fighter pilot, and when he was bestowed the Green Lantern powers, which are derived from the ring he wears in the Green Lantern battery, pretty much. And so again, I don't want to go into too many details necessarily with him, as a character. Like I said, I don't want to go for long on this stream, but at the same time, like, a lot of it, as I said, is pretty much because of nostalgia for me and the fact that I do have that connection in a way for them being Air Force, or at least fighter pilot, pretty much. So being military, I kind of gravitate to that. I do like Jon Stewart. I do like Jessica Cruz, but I still have that little affinity for Hal Jordan. Always liked how his interactions with the Justice League, the other members like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and so forth. And although, if I were to be honest, I would not. If I were a part of the Lantern Corps, I most likely would not be a Green Lantern based on my personality. Probably be. Despite my interactions on Twitter, I'd probably be blue. I know what red is. I know what red is, and so forth. But I think I would be like, actually, my personality is actually. Let's put it this way. I'm calm until you say something stupid.
She barks more than she bites.
Yes, pretty much. So I'd probably be. I mean, I do love the Green Lantern Corps, but I'd probably be more in line with the Blue Lanterns.
I've never read any of it. Plus, I'm colorblind, so I'd be like, I'd be the asshole in the back, just going, "Okay, let's do that."
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm on board.
Here's history of all the Lantern Corps. Yeah, but like I said, it's again, we're not going to go into too many details about these characters, but normally I would have gone with Jon Stewart as far as like Green Lantern, because I do love Jon Stewart, but I added the nostalgia factor to and I had like, he's pretty fucking much OG Green Lantern, like Green Lantern to me, at least to me, is Hal Jordan. So I had to go with that character. $5 super chat from Albert, thank you so much. Guy Gardner is the greatest Green Lantern ever. If you don't believe me, then just ask him. He'll tell himself. Yes, but have to go with Hal Jordan.
Trey says it's going to be a Black Lantern, so that would be a lantern with no light in it.
Yeah,
it's just gone out.
He's a Gray Lantern. Yeah.
Is there a Gray Lantern?
I don't think so. So yeah. What's the DC ratio on my list? Well, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are DC. 2 are Marvel. And 2 are neither DC or Marvel. So that's the ratio. But there's no Gray Lantern. Here, I'll look it up to show you in screen share so you can see what the colors are. But anyway, like, you're number 9. Yeah, we're on number 8. We're on number 8.
Yeah, it's your turn.
Yeah. Sorry.
We actually both went with green for 9. Hulk and Green Lantern.
Yes. In a way, yes.
We're getting synchronized. Scary. Especially since I'm colorblind.
Well, my next one, right? My next one is from Dark Horse Comics. Dark Horse Comics, and I would call him more of an anti-hero than a hero. Has had 3 movie adaptations of the character. One of which was good. The second of which was eh. The third of which was like, what the fuck were you thinking? But there was one cool scene with Baba Yaga in the third one, and that is Hellboy. Right? So, pretty much.
I actually hadn't even heard of Hellboy until the movie came out.
Yes. So I read a little bit of the comics, so I knew him from the comics. Then watched the movie adaptations, and he is like basically like people didn't realize he was an actual comic book character before the movie adaptation. So basically, he is a half demon. All right. So and he's if he were to let his horns grow, they would curl up like this, pretty much. So he shaves them down, so he kind of like give him a little bit more of a normal appearance, or as normal of appearance as one could have, looking like him. Pretty much, he has a normal left hand and a right hand that's pretty much like kind of like the Hulk hand, pretty much. Good for smashing.
It's a gauntlet thing.
Yeah,
almost.
Yes, and he's essentially adopted by a human when he crosses over, like in the movie. Pretty much in the movie, it's shown that a ritual is happening, like because trying to open this portal for demonic forces to enter, or basically take over Earth and so forth, and basically kill off all of humanity. And it stopped in the process, but discovered that something has made its way from that realm into our reality, and that was a young Hellboy. So he's basically adopted by a professor, and basically the platoon the professor is part of, basically to stop these Nazi occultists, and grows up working for the Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense later on, pretty much. This basically means malevolent forces, and it's like paranormal in nature or otherwise. Pretty much, when they rear their ugly heads, they send in Hellboy and his team to basically take it out. So, Hellboy's biological father is an actual demon, so he has that aspect to his character where he's not exactly a hero. He's not exactly a hero, but he's not a villain either. So he's like, I'd say probably best way I could describe it is like D&D terms. He's chaotic neutral. He's very much a chaotic neutral character. So yes. It's right hand is pretty much the right hand of doom. So yeah. So my number 8 was Hellboy.
My turn? Yeah. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my number 8, it's my favorite superhero. I'd argue that he isn't a superhero, but he's lower on my list because I didn't have that many comics, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the nostalgia isn't there. But
Yes.
Batman. I have Batman at number 8. So, quality-wise, he would be higher and all that, but, I kind of had to rate them based on what I'd read the most, So, yeah, not much to say about Batman, though. Everyone knows Batman, right?
Yeah, pretty much everyone knows.
Yeah.
Batman.
And Batman shines, in my opinion, because of the gothic nature of Gotham, because you have a very cool setting there that feels alive, more so than Metropolis, and the insanely good rogue gallery.
Yes.
Batman, he would not be as cool without the villains.
Two of the characters on my list are villains from the Rogues Gallery. So, and that's part of the, not the only reason, but part of the reason I love Batman as a character is because of the fact that I would argue, has the best villains.
Yeah. I would be 100% behind you on that one.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Batman. I could go on and on, but everyone knows everything I would say anyway,
Mm-hmm.
And I used to dress up as Batman when I was a kid. Cardboard mask and a white towel as a cape. And I jumped off my parents' balcony because that would make the cape flap. I did it twice, and my mom caught me, and then
so much about you.
Yeah, my bravery, my daring charm as I leap from the balcony wearing a towel.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. I looked worse than Adam West.
Here's the can't quite get a good image, pretty much. But here are the colors, pretty much, and what they represent. So you have actual, black, death. Red is rage. Orange is avarice, which is greed. Yellow is fear. Green is will. Blue is hope. purple is compassion, pink is love, and then white is life. And this is the oaths, pretty much. So, which one do you think you would be?
I don't know.
Well, death, rage, avarice, which is greed, fear, will, hope, compassion, love, and life.
Yeah, I'm definitely not greedy
Mm-hmm.
at all. I'm not really afraid of much except crocodiles. Will? What's that?
Well, that's the Green Lantern Corps. So, in brightest day and blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worships evil might beware my power, Green Lantern's light.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Yep.
I'll let others decide really, because in my
For me,
opinion,
I'd be blue, which is hope. In fearful day and raging night, with strong hearts full, our souls ignite. When all seems lost in the war of light, look to the stars, for hope burns bright.
you know, what's the purple one?
Purple is compassion. Tor Loraxon is it's in another language. So
Oh, yeah. Well, I do use another language,
yes,
and I do like to help people. Believe it or not,
yeah.
I
So you'd be
actually,
purple.
yeah. I go, and purple's my favorite color too.
So there you go. Those are the
Yeah.
colors.
Yeah. Oh, Orange Chat is asking how stubborn I am. It goes to 11.
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. It's beyond a character flaw at this point. And I'm told it's because I'm a Taurus.
I think thinking passion. Yeah, like I said, I'm.
Teresa's gonna
my
get
personality.
extra.
I'm more the Blue Lantern Corps.
Teresa's gonna get extra money in the D&D game on Sunday.
Sure.
Yeah, sucking up helps. It works on me.
Which I don't do.
Yeah, which is why she keeps getting eaten by animals.
Yeah. So I actually have an aversion to people who suck up, essentially.
Yeah, to be honest, if it's joking suck up, then it's fine because it's just banter.
Well, like joking suck up, but yeah. But I've seen but I actually saw people do that while in the military. So I have like this.
Yeah,
makes my eye twitch.
I saw it too, and I was just a private, going through basic, mandatory stuff, and yeah, suck ups, and the worst of the simps and shit. Hell no, it's like,
yeah,
I wouldn't want anyone to stand with me that can't stand at all because they don't even have a spine.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so, okay, my number 8. No, my number. No, that's we're on number 7.
It's my turn again.
Yeah, 7.
Yeah, Spider-Man.
Okay, well,
I
he's
had-
on my list as well.
Yeah, I had so many Spider-Man comics when I was a kid, and I actually managed to reacquire quite a few because I think I had like 5 or 6 years complete with Spider-Man comics back in the day, and I think we were like 4 or 5 years though behind the US because translations and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But he was fighting the Hobgoblin and Vulture a lot in the ones I had, but I still have a lot of those comics. I can actually put a picture up for you later on if you want to see them. But I didn't identify with Spider-Man, so it's weird that I liked him, right? I mean, I wasn't a photographer in New York. Imagine that.
Well, he's
But I
on
like
my
that.
list, and I'm not a straight white male.
Yeah. But Spider-Man has a little bit of something that a lot of the other superhero stories lack, and they have Spider-Man has a little bit of that feel good
Mm-hmm.
to it. Sam Raimi.
Personality.
Yeah, Sam Raimi, I think nailed that bit in his movies
Mm-hmm.
because they're, he's dealing with psycho villains and all, but there's always that feel good vibe to it. So it's almost family friendly ish.
In my opinion, Tobey Maguire was the best overall best Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Andrew Garfield was a good Spider-Man, but not a good Peter Parker. Then Tom Holland He's not even Spider-Man. If you
No.
think about it, he's not even Spider-Man.
Yeah. So, yeah. I don't know. I always, when I was reading Spider-Man and stuff, I always felt like I was in a better mood when I was done.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing happens when I'm watching the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. I just get in a better mood.
I
So
feel like
there's
the
something
third
there.
one would have been the third movie would have been a lot better if the studio hadn't interfered and just let Sam Raimi do his thing.
Yeah.
Because Sam Raimi, he focused on villains, in particular on villains that he knew, because he knew Spider-Man, so he wanted to focus on villains that he actually knew and cared about. Hence, you had Green Goblin in the first one, Doc Ock in the second one, and then he was only going to have Sandman in the third one, but then the studio stepped in and like they needed Venom.
Yeah, Sandman was not the problem in the third movie. He was great.
No, I'm saying if they had let Sam Raimi do his thing, I think
Yeah.
the third movie would not have been as bad as it was.
Yeah.
And
Fully agree.
Hobgoblin was wasted too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it was just. Well, I mean, the Hobgoblin was used in the Andrew Garfield ones pretty much, but that character was wasted too. Because I think like there's going to like possibly be like potentially that they were going to show Harry Osborn becoming Hobgoblin or like really focus on that and just went nowhere.
I liked Lizard in the first Garfield movie. He's called Lizard, right? Or is it Lizard Man?
I don't know that villain that well. I just know him as basically Lizard.
Yeah. I liked him because I remember him from the old comics too. But Doc Ock was the best one though in any live action Spider-Man movie.
All right, sorry.
Anyway,
yeah, when they retconned that he was the one who killed Uncle Ben, which didn't make any sense. Like that was like the only negative, but otherwise the character itself was really good. It's just a lot of what would have been the focus on him was taken away because the studio made Sam Raimi include Venom, and then the worst casting for Eddie Brock in history, or one of the worst, Topher Grace.
Yeah,
didn't work.
Who was actually an okay actor, but
not as Venom.
Yeah.
He was miscast as Venom.
I think he even said he was kind of miscast.
Yeah, I mean, like to his credits, he said, I was like, it's like he actually said, it's like I was a miscast in that regard. So he doesn't fault anyone. Well, at least they put it this way, that like he understood that he was not the right fit.
He would actually have been better.
They forced that character into the movie.
Topher Grace would actually have been a better Spider-Man.
He would have been a better Peter Parker. So
yeah, I think so.
I could see that, but not Eddie Brock. So, which is like Venom, so. But anyway, so my number 7 is actually a character from Spider-Man's universe, but it's not Spider-Man. It is the character Venom. So it's like the one of the villains I have on my list, pretty much. So it's basically symbiote, pretty much, which, as the name implies, pretty much creates a symbiotic relationship between itself and the host. And Spider-Man himself was actually the first host for the Venom symbiote. So whenever like the second Spider-Man game comes out, we should see basically the black suit Spider-Man, pretty much, when the symbiote has attached itself to Peter Parker. And then, once Peter Parker separates himself from the symbiote, that's when we'd see Eddie Brock, pretty much. But the way it looks from the first game to the second game, at least, to bring up the video games, it looks like they're going to make Harry Osborn, they're going to give him the symbiote, which does not make any fucking sense at all, because it should be Eddie Brock after Peter Parker. But yeah, so it's like It's basically, I mean, not going into details. Pretty much, it's an alien life form, right? It's a before it attaches itself to a host, it is basically a liquid form, pretty much. So, like you would see it, pretty like these tendrils that, like just like attach itself to surfaces and things like that. And once it finds a host, it absorbs itself into the host and like basically takes on basically the characteristics of the host. So that's why, again, you would see Black Suit Spider-Man because of that. So, but Eddie Brock should be the next one, and he's not. Anyway. So I don't like when Venom is a villain. Venom is a villain, but too often they try to paint him as an anti-hero, especially in these new movies. The Venom movies that came out, they like try to paint him as an anti-hero, and Venom is nothing like an anti-hero. He's very much a villain. Same as Carnage, very much a villain. It's like not a good entity in any way, shape, or form. That's why Venom was always just like, the main Spider-Man villain. That's the key word there. Villain. I can't stand the fact when they try to make him an anti-hero, which is what they're doing nowadays. So, but he is the basically quintessential. You ask anyone, name a Spider-Man villain, he's one of the top ones people will name. He is like the villain face of Spider-Man in the Marvel universe, pretty much. Yeah. And Carnage was a serial killer. Right? So it's like, but Venom is supposed to be a villain. But I love him as a villain. Especially when he attached himself to Peter, and you had that really dynamic with Peter Parker's basically his good side is like fighting with the symbiote, and like eventually he's able to tear the symbiote off of him. Great. Thank you for the super chat, Crimson Eagle. Miss you too. Thank you for thinking it's a great stream, and hope you enjoy the replay if you missed any of it. Craven, they're gonna butcher Craven. I don't know about in the game. Craven could be good in the game. Movie, Marvel's well on its way to butchering that because they're again trying to turn him into some type of anti-hero, and Craven is a fucking villain. Yeah, he's probably number 2. I'm saying he is top. Green Goblin, I'd say the top 3. If you were to ask anyone on the street who has any relative knowledge about Spider-Man and the villains, pretty much the top 3, I could guarantee in no particular order would be Green Goblin, Venom, and Doc Ock. They're pretty much the villain faces of Spider-Man. Not saying that's the only villains that Spider-Man has fought, but they're I would say, even money, the top 3 people would know. Anyway, Venom is my number 7. Green Goblin would have made the list, but like I said, I really love when the whole dynamic with Venom, the symbiote, and Peter Parker. So yes.
Yeah, and it's not about who's the best, right? It's about who we simply like more.
Yes. So that's why that's why basically Venom inched his way past Green Goblin in that regard. So now we're on number 6.
Yeah, it's your turn.
I gotta respond to a text. Hold on. Gotta dictate this message. All right. Anyway, my number 6 is another villain. This time it's a DC villain. I have 2 DC villains on my list. This one I very much like because he is all about fear, which is extremely psychological in nature. Basically, mastery of psychology and using fear as a weapon against people, and that is the Scarecrow, aka Jonathan Crane. Pretty much, I have a bachelor's in psychology, so I very much gravitated towards this villain. Like there is a villain that I put over the Scarecrow in terms of basically that I love, but Scarecrow is, yeah, I'm with Ray. Very much underrated in my opinion.
She tries to scare me all the time.
So very much underrated and wasted in Batman Begins. He basically was reduced to a MacGuffin in Batman Begins, in my opinion, which is unfortunate because the character himself is actually much like the other DC villain I have on my list, is extremely fascinating, and like I said, he doesn't use brute force or anything like that. He's not strong like Bane or anything like that. He's not he's psychotic, but he's not crazy psychotic like the Joker or anything like that. He's very much it's the subtleness and so forth. And like you said, he has a fear toxin that if you breathe it in, pretty much it kind of releases, in a sense, your deepest, darkest fears. So he's using that as a weapon to basically hold Gotham at bay.
It's also I believe it's a metaphor. When people inhale the gas, they're letting the fear get to them.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
They're basically letting him in.
Yes. So, but yeah. Like I said, because I think I would love. I mean, if I trusted Warner Brothers at fucking all to do a good adaptation of a Batman film nowadays, pretty much, I would love for them to move away from, because they always rely on using the Joker, Penguin, Catwoman, Two-Face is a big one. Poison Ivy is another big one, but they always seem to gravitate towards those kind of I guess top well-known Batman villains. But I would love them to actually show the other villains that Batman has fought, to include Professor Pig, right? Scarecrow more. Don't use him as a MacGuffin. The Mad Hatter. Calendar Man, don't let the name pretty much fool you. He is a pretty damn good villain, but he doesn't have the best villain name. Solomon Grundy, I've not seen him. Pretty much Clayface, and not really. Yeah, Hugo Strange, Clayface. I mean, move away. Slade, we need a good Deathstroke. Or we haven't seen a good Deathstroke.
Some of them showed up in the Gotham series, actually.
I know, but an actual movie, pretty much. Whenever they make a movie, it's
Riddler is overused too.
Yeah, inevitably it's Riddler, Catwoman, Joker, Penguin. Those are the top four, pretty much, followed closely by Two-Face and Poison Ivy.
Yeah.
And Mr. Freeze, he needs to be done right. He was done as meme-worthy as Arnold Schwarzenegger's performance was in Batman and Robin for Mr. Freeze. All right, he was done dirty in that movie.
Oh yeah.
And good Ra's al Ghul. We need a good Ra's al Ghul as well as a good Talia al Ghul. Haven't got that yet. No, I've not heard of that channel. I'll have to check it out. But yeah, so yeah. But anyway, I would like them to branch out into the actual rogues gallery of villains that Batman has faced, and that would include a better representation of the Scarecrow. So yeah, he's my number 6.
Well, you have a super sticker. You can do that one.
It is. Thank you, Retro Collective. Is a $3 super sticker of a corgi saying, "How's it going? How's it going, Retro Collective? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well." Yeah, good Killer Croc and a Mad Hatter would be good. Anyway, okay, so.
Well, my number 6, I don't think was that popular in the U.S. Huge in Europe, Northern Europe, and for some reason in Brazil, because I've been chatting with Timon Flip now and again, and we basically have the same stuff in Brazil as in Norway. So because every time I mention some comic that would be obscure to you guys, he's like, "Oh yeah, we had that too." So kind of weird, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
All the way across the world, yeah, it's the same. But I have the Phantom, which was done pretty well in the Billy Zane movie. If you've seen that one,
Years ago.
yeah, it's underrated as hell. They almost nailed it, really. But the Phantom comics are usually more gritty and dark,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because there's a lot of deaths and stuff. But and the Phantom, you can set in all kinds of time periods as well, because the first Phantom is from way back before the US was even discovered,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
when he died, the son took over the mantle.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes the daughter took over the mantle. So it's been ongoing ever since. Not a superhero, more like Batman. He has, really good training, right?
Yeah.
But, I looked on eBay. It's really hard to find Phantom comics on eBay in the US. It's weird. I don't know why, but I think you'd like the Phantom, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, I know I've seen the movie, but I never really read the comics. So
yeah. But yeah, a big part of my childhood, and I actually found a Norwegian thrift store online that sells old comics. And I was looking at, they had a whole category just for the Phantom, and I was like, shit, I had all these comics, I'm buying them again. So that's where my money's going in the coming months, and it's going to be great. So anyway, if anyone out there haven't looked into the Phantom and stuff like that, do so. I think if you like Batman, and it's almost like a mix between Tarzan and Batman, if I think about it, because he has his base in the jungle in a mountain shaped like a skull.
well, I guess maybe a little bit. The Batman's his cave is more underground.
Yeah.
So
And he has the equipment and the training rather than any superpower. And
which my dad loves pointing out, because like he was never really a fan of Batman. So when he says Batman's not a superhero, I just say Superman's not brave.
Yep. And you'd really like the Phantom because he's friends with the animals. He has a highly trained horse and a wolf as well that goes with him on missions.
Awesome.
Yep. And he has a pygmy friend. I'm not kidding. A pygmy with a straw skirt and a straw hat. Can't remember his name though, but he's awesome too.
Would not be able to be made today, but sounds pretty cool. So when was Batman?
The Phantom is early.
I know, but both are early because Batman is from like 80 plus years ago.
I'll check it out.
Yeah. Dan says the Phantom is published here in Sydney now.
1936 by Lee Falk.
So that's the Phantom?
Yeah.
When was Batman? Batman was in the 30s too, I believe.
Yeah.
So
39.
39. Okay, so Phantom came first.
Yeah.
So for all we know, that Batman was a little bit inspired by the Phantom. Could have been.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah. So I'm saying, which I do not fault any Batman at all in that nature, because we wouldn't have some characters without other characters coming first and inspiring the other comic book artists. It's when they blatantly steal the shit, then we have a problem.
Yeah.
I think that's why Siegel always has midgets in D&D. He has a midget fetish.
He has
a midget fetish.
I do not.
Yes, you do.
No. Whenever someone couldn't make it to D&D, I had to come up with a reason why the character wasn't there. I just said, yeah, the person went to the local whorehouse to sleep with midgets. It was just
you could have just said They were at the local whorehouse, but you included midgets, which tells me you have a little bit of a fetish.
No, I
Yeah.
just wanted it to sound a little bit weird so that the person who didn't show up would get somewhat humiliated. And then Mara made a big thing about it. So I'm like, oh, okay, then I'll give you midgets. So I made like a devil midget clan for her.
Yeah. Anyway, we're on to number 5.
Mm-hmm.
Which is your turn. Hey, Phil.
Okay. Lucky Luke. Have you heard of him?
Nope.
It's another, I think it's French comic, huge in Europe. They've done 50, 60, probably 60. Probably 60 comics. They're magazine sized, and each story is like 50 pages long. And they did an animated show where each episode was one comic, and you can find them on YouTube in English. It's basically a cowboy who can draw his gun faster than his own shadow. That's how fast he is. So he's practicing drawing against his own shadow. And the shadow hasn't even drawn his gun when there's a hole in it, right? And they're making fun of, Western tropes. He's one of the villains is Billy the Kid, who is actually a kid. And you have the Dalton brothers, and later on the Dalton brothers' cousins, which are dumb as shit. Jesse James is in it, Calamity Jane, all kinds of stuff. And they're not being politically correct towards the Native Americans either, or Mexicans, or black people, or Asians, or white people, anyone. So
basically like South Park.
No. Not on that level at all. This is actually very family friendly.
Okay.
Big time. But it's made before 2023, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it has those stereotypes. There was in one of the comics I just read, because I started rereading them. They're in Mexico, and at a certain time of day, the whole town just stops because they're having their siesta. They just sit down,
which is what actually happens.
Yeah, and then one guy is hammering on the doctor's door, freaking out, and it's a Mexican, and he has insomnia. So it's fucking up his siesta. It's destroying his life.
Well, like I said, what's funny is that actually happens in Mexican towns. Like they actually do, straight up, a siesta during the day.
Yeah, and he has a talking horse. Well, the horse talks to himself. He doesn't talk to. Lucky Luke doesn't know he can talk. And there's a jail dog as well, like a prison guard dog, who's dumb as shit, that follows him around. He's talking to himself too in dog language.
Sounds interesting. Never heard of it, pretty much.
Well, I'll send you the link to one episode or something, because they're like 20 minutes, so you'll get the gist of it. But
okay.
Yeah, Lucky Luke, just family-friendly fun. Pokes fun at everyone without trying to poke fun at anyone. Does that make sense?
I guess so. Sorry, I had to respond to another text. So.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, that was my number 4. No, 5.
5. Well, my number 5 is the same as Trey's number 5, and that is Spawn. So like I said, they had two characters that were from neither DC or Marvel, and Spawn is another example of a character that's not from those two major comic book entities. He's from Image Comics, from Todd McFarlane. All right, and it's very fucking much an anti-hero. Pretty much the characters, basically when he was a human, he worked for the basically U.S. Marine Corps. So he's a military vet, and he was betrayed, burned to death, and then subsequently sent to hell, right? And where he makes a deal literally with the devil to become basically, for one better way of putting it, pretty much like literally a hell spawn, pretty much, literally hell spawn. So like he has to do pretty much the bidding of the devil, and as part of the deal is the devil will allow him to see his wife, the Simmons wife. Like Simmons is the character who becomes Spawn. Allow Simmons to see his wife one last time, pretty much. So he returns Simmons to the living realm with his severely burned body and basically a demonic guardian to watch over him. And Spawn discovers that once his basically hell powers are depleted, pretty much, like he like runs into fellow hell spawn, and once they're depleted, then he will basically return to hell, never to return to the living realm. So Spawn takes it upon himself at that point to find new purpose in his life, and the purpose that he finds literally turns him into an anti-hero. So he's fighting, basically taking down gangs and other various criminals. So he basically uses that pursuit of stopping evil as a way to give him purpose, so that way he's doesn't entirely deplete his powers, pretty much. So he wants to use his like powers as little as possible, so that way he's able to stay within the living realm and not be sent back to hell. But again, very much kind of like, you know, with Hellboy, be very much chaotic neutral. So yes, he's taking down bad guys, but he's doing it his own fucking way, and his own fucking way is some of the most brutal methods possible. So, like I said, like very much like the character. The movie itself could have been better. But but I very much love the character, and yes, like, you know, he kills. So he doesn't have like a. I very much hate the fact that Batman has a no-kill rule. Like, he was given that no-kill rule relatively recently in comics. I understand the motivation they give to Batman, to give it to Bruce Wayne as to why he doesn't do it, but at the same time, it's like Batman Batman will kill if absolutely necessary. Will it be the first? Will it be the first decision he makes? Will it be the first choice he makes? No, absolutely not. All right, but he will kill if absolutely necessary. Otherwise, why would he have files on the Justice League on how to kill them if they go rogue? Right? He's willing to kill. He's willing to take that step, but he's like, that would be the last step he would take. Spawn, on the other hand, he would straight up fucking murder a bitch. It's like a bad guy, pretty much. He would straight up murder them. Right? I'm defeating evil. He's defeating evil by basically choking out a bad guy. Pretty much. But yes. Yeah, but Spawn is my number 5. Yes, and he kills them very violently. So yes, unlike Batman, like Spawn has no qualms at whatsoever with like making that his like first choice, if need be. And yes, I love Michael J. White. I love him. I actually, if there was any, like, to bring up the Paramount Halo series, all right, if I were in charge of that series, for one thing, I would not have created a silver fucking timeline, all right? I would have actually adapted storylines from the books and so forth, pretty much, so like an actual adaptation. Secondly, I would have cast Michael J. White as Master Chief in the armor, because we do not need to see Master Chief's face, all right? We just need to hear his voice. So I would have cast Michael J. White in the armor, and then why am I blanking on the voice actor's name? But the actual voice actor for Master Chief, for John 117. Do you imagine how many nerdgasms there would be, chat? And Keith David voiced Spawn in the animated series and the Orbiter in the Halo series. And fuck Norris. That's what I would have done. Okay, but my number 5 is Spawn. Very much the anti-hero, and very much willing to cross that line and kill bad guys.
I put the Lucky Luke intro in the private chat.
I saw it. I very likely would not be able to play it on stream because I might get claimed, but I saw it. All right.
Oh yeah, they're getting. Yeah, I don't even know who owns that one.
Yeah, so I don't want to risk. Do not want to risk that. All right. Okay. Now we're on number 4. Okay.
Yeah, it's your turn.
Yes, my number 4 is another DC villain. All right, and it's one that I very much would love to see a live action of sorts adaptation of. But because it would be very much gothic horror inspired. And if you can all kind of see that picture in the back that was drawn for me by Stunning and Brave Megatron, my number 4 character is Man-Bat. And the name itself, yes. The name itself is like obviously Batman, Man-Bat. All right, so because it does come across as extremely unoriginal, but the character itself is one of the best in the Rogues Gallery of villains that Batman has faced. And again, if he were to be properly adapted to a live action Batman film, can you imagine the gothic horror undertones in this one? It would be phenomenal because of the character. All right, so Man-Bat, basically, or AKA Dr. Kirk Langstrom, was his basically a zoologist, right? So basically specializing in bats, all right? Specializing in bats, and he tests a formula on himself. And you know how in comics and so forth, whenever a character tests anything on himself or herself, inevitably it's going to go horribly fucking awry, pretty much. Which is what happens, pretty much. He tests this formula on himself, which in turn turns him into a human bat hybrid. Literally a man-bat. Literally a man-bat. And because of him injecting himself in this formula, with the formula, it also makes him relatively insane, right? Relatively insane, and when he's introduced, he goes literally on a mad rampage through Gotham City until Batman's able to quell him. Pretty much, is able to quell him. Pretty much, so so basically, his species essentially would be essentially a metahuman because he's literally a hybrid. He's literally a hybrid. He's neither fully bat and he's neither fully human, but he's able to fly because of the bat wings and because of the formula, right? He has strength, durability, speed, agility. He can fight and so forth. The razor sharp claws. You imagine the aerial battles that Batman and Man-Bat would have in the film. Would be phenomenal. Plus, you have the genius level of intellect in Kirk Langstrom. He's pretty much, I would not say on par with Bruce Wayne in terms of intellectual capability, but he's pretty fucking smart. You would have Batman and Man-Bat, 2 intellectual powerhouses, right, going against each other, and make it like a straight up horror movie. It would fucking work. But that's my number 4, Man-Bat.
R-rated horror movie.
Yes.
I'd be all for it.
Yeah, it could be because you have the gothic architecture in Gotham.
Something in the tone of Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah, add Man-Bat to it, and you have a straight up gothic horror element. It would fucking work, but I do not trust Warner Brothers at fucking all right now.
They wouldn't do it because Man-Bat is not as mainstream as the others, and they're catering to the normies. Yeah, that's why we're getting the Joker and the Riddler and Catwoman all the time.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm sick of the over reliance on the Joker, Catwoman, Penguin, and Riddler. I like those characters, but at the same time, the studios always fall back on them because normies know them. But I would love to see Man-Bat, Scarecrow, Professor Pig, Callerman, Solomon Grundy, Mad Hatter, the Tweedledee, Tweedledum. There's actually an episode of the animated series where the villain was a child, literally did not age, so it's stayed looking like a child, and it's a very tragic episode. I don't know if she exactly got rid of her PO box. I think when she moved, she's sharing a PO box with someone else, but I don't know who. But it's through She mentioned it on one of the Talk Nerdy episodes. Which PO boxes send stuff addressed to her through, pretty much. So I don't think she has her own separate one now. She shares it. It's like a G&G box. Yeah. Yeah, Baby Doll. Yes, thank you. It's like it was a very tragic episode. But I'm saying, like, there's like so many villains, so many fucking villains that Batman has actually faced. Refuse to use any beyond like the top 4 that normies know.
You should cosplay Man Bat.
No, I'm not.
A woman bat.
No.
Just sit there with wings and shit.
No, I'm not. I love the character. I'm not going to cosplay as that character. So, but there it is. That's my number 4, Man Bat.
Okay. My number 4 is, well, is big in the US too, but not in comic form, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Duck. We have Donald Duck comics. It's been a weekly thing since, I think, the 40s. I'm actually going to check it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 1948. That's the first time Norway got a Donald Duck comic. And it's been weekly releases since then. So imagine how many comics that is. Weekly. Not monthly.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I grew up with them. You know, I'd get a Donald Duck comic every week. Me and my sister would read them. And they piled up fast. That was ended up being a couple of big boxes of comics. But just, you know, great, you know, family fun. Donald Duck and his nephews and all that would go on adventures. And, you know, they actually had a decent rogue gallery too in Donald Duck. Some were Batman inspired.
That's interesting.
Yep. And I could not leave them out. Donald Duck is massive in Scandinavia and Germany, especially. And I chatted with what's his name? European Lore. They're big in the Czech Republic too.
That's
so, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, Donald Duck. Had to put him in there. High up too, because I read so many comics. It's ridiculous. But you know, he's a duck. He doesn't wear pants. You know, he has a rage.
Oh, yeah, so you related to him.
No. He also has a sick rage issue. Like he's psychotic.
Yep.
Which makes it fun.
All right.
Yeah, that's it. Donald Duck. He was my number 4.
All right. Well, okay. So now we're on number 3.
Yeah. Number 3 is a double act because they go together. So I kind of cheated. There's 2 in 1.
Mm-hmm.
Asterix and Obelix. French comics.
Mm-hmm.
Been made into live action movies and several animated movies. The live action one stars Gerard Depardieu as Obelix, actually. Asterix is basically it focuses on a small village in Gaul during the Roman period. And it's the only village in Gaul that has not been conquered by the Romans. So they want to constantly get them. However, the druid in the village knows how to make a strength potion. So the Gauls in that village beat the fuck out of the Romans. They beat the hell out of them. Obelix, though, has it permanently because he fell into the cauldron of strength potions when he was a kid, when he was a baby. He fell in and drank the whole damn thing. So he's a chubby guy with a tiny dog. You'd like the dog. And he carves dolmen stones for a living, which he also throws at the Romans. They go to Britain, they go to Greece, they make fun of all kinds of ancient, old school stuff. You know, whenever the Romans are speaking, you get kind of jokes in Latin and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never heard of this.
little dog, when he speaks to an Egyptian dog, they speak in hieroglyphs. Yeah. And every damn time they're out in a boat, they run into pirates and they sink the pirate ship. The same pirates in every damn comic. And at one point, they just see them and like, sink our ship so they don't get to do it. Right? So they sink their own ship. It's kind of like in the same tone of Lucky Luke, but more clever on the humor. Because I got Teresa reading some of them. And she was impressed by how clever it actually is. And you can find the Asterix movies, the animated ones, on YouTube for free in English.
Okay. Like I said, I've never heard of them. So
you'd like them. Definitely. Yeah, Gravy is right. There's a bunch of video games. A bunch of new ones too, like co-op beat 'em ups and stuff. It's Asterix with an X at the end. All of the Gauls' names ends with an X in the comics because they used to have names like that, right?
Yeah, don't know that history too well, but I would imagine, yeah. So
Julius Caesar's in there, Cleopatra's in there.
Like actual Cleopatra or Netflix Cleopatra?
No, actual. And Obelix was the one who knocked the nose off the Sphinx. So they fool around with stuff like that. Yeah, Trey Courtney found the first one, Asterix the Gaul. My favorite, though, is Asterix in Britain. They go to England. And the Brits realize they have a strength potion too, and they call it tea. So basically, they get conquered, though, because every day at noon, they stop fighting to have their tea time. So the Romans figure out, okay, let's just attack them at tea time then. And it works. They win.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, so
anyway, another comic that's huge in Europe and Brazil. Timon spoke of them, so it's the odd thing again. Something about Brazil. It's like a European outpost.
Well, that's where it's speculated certain Nazis fled to.
Yeah, they actually found Viking settlements in Brazil. So the Vikings didn't just go to North America; they made it down to Brazil in an open boat, thinking the world was flat and there were sea monsters everywhere. That's pretty nuts if you think about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's so? Well, like basically watch enough history, like basically History Channel, and find like there's certain artifacts from certain groups that where you like wouldn't imagine finding them.
So. Yeah, the Greeks had what was essentially a primitive computer.
Mm-hmm. Anyway,
so
I'm trying not. I'm sorry, Chad. I did not sleep well last night, so I apologize if I'm trying not to yawn on stream. It's not that the conversation is not fascinating; it's just I did not sleep well.
But it's fine.
My number 3, so we can kind of move on, is again a little bit of a nostalgia factor because this is the other character that my father grew up reading and loving. So kind of like I grew up not so much necessarily reading comics per se because he didn't really have a lot necessarily like saved because my grandmother got rid of a lot of his stuff. But grew up watching Justice League cartoons and things like that, and that is the Flash, but particularly Barry Allen, the Flash, pretty much is so like he made my list and basically in the top 3 pretty much. So he is number 3, and Barry Allen was a essentially a forensic chemist. He like worked in a crime lab And one night, while he's working with a bunch of unknown chemicals, a lightning bolt strikes him, and which shatters the chemicals, which drench Barry in them, and he's knocked out cold. And when he awakens, he finds that he can run at literally superhuman speeds with enhanced reflexes and senses and so forth, to include healing, because his metabolic rate is so extremely high at this point because of the super speed. And I kind of gravitated to him because he's extremely quippy in a way. So he does have that not necessarily snarkiness, pretty much, but he does have that much like Peter Parker in a sense, and he does have that back and forth, pretty much, that he does with the other Justice League members. And so I gravitated to that aspect of his personality because I'm very much like that. I'm probably a bit more snarky than both the Flash and Peter Parker are, but at the same time, I related to that because that's pretty much an aspect of my character. So, but you have the likes of SJWs nowadays telling me that I can't relate to any character unless they look exactly like me. So I would not have been able to. So they could not fathom me relating to Barry Allen, and they could not fathom me relating to Peter Parker in any sense of the word. But their personalities are what I very much love, and I don't know. I would love super speed at this point because I would have really no need of a car. I hate fucking traffic in my city, pretty much. I would love to be able to get from point A to point B in 0.0001 seconds at this rate. I would love that. Yeah, pretty much. But Barry Allen definitely made the top three in terms of just based on personality alone. And then I won't cause the Flashpoint. I'm not that stupid. But yes, so Flashpoint caused when Barry Allen tried to change something in the past, but when he did that, it altered the future. Shocker. In which we thought the Flash movie would actually show the actual Flashpoint storyline. It did not. But anyway, yeah, Flashpoint storyline would have included Atlanteans and Amazons fighting each other, like war between those two groups. But didn't show it. Anyway, Barry Allen, The Flash, is my number 3. So, we're on number 2, which I start here, and really do not need to go into the number 2, because if you do not know this character by now, you've been living under a rock, because it's one of DC's favorite characters to make a film about, pretty much, because while, yes, I can see the argument that Superman is the face of DC, this one is an extremely close second, if not actually inching into the number 1 spot as the face of Detective Comics, and that is Batman. I don't know what you all want me to say about Bruce Wayne, aka Batman, the Dark Knight. He was extremely intelligent, very versatile. Studied multiple martial arts. Is a billionaire who uses the foundation set up by his father, Thomas Wayne, to help orphanages, hospitals, schools, and so forth. But God fucking forbid he punch a bad guy nowadays. God fucking forbid he put bad guys in jail, pretty much. But Batman, yes, because there is a character that did inch his way past Bruce Wayne's Batman to hit number 1, and there's a reason why that's the case. But Batman is, while number 2, he's a very close number 2, because I love Batman. I love the Bat family for the most part, and I absolutely fucking love the Rogues Gallery of villains. Pretty much, Batman has the best villains that he fights, bar none, in my opinion. Bar none in my opinion. He has the best Rogues Gallery of villains. There are good ones. For other characters like Superman, Wonder Woman, and so forth, but Batman just takes the cake. Actually, no, but Dick Grayson is bae. I love Jason Todd, but I prefer Dick Grayson.
There's actually been a few people who have had the Phantom on their list today.
Yes, include here.
Yeah.
Yes, but Batman was number 2, and there's one that just inched his way into the number 1 spot for like certain reasons. But yes, that's my number 2. I don't think I really need to go into details about Batman. Like I said, if you don't know Batman by now, you've been living under a rock.
Yeah.
So that's my number 2.
Well, my number 2 is a Marvel character.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't guess who it is. It's a female Marvel character made by Roy Thomas. It's Red Sonja.
Red Sonja?
Yep. The first female Marvel character to get a movie. Right? It wasn't a good movie. It wasn't.
No.
It was lore breaking as shit too, but she got a movie. Counts. Red Sonja was created by Roy Thomas for Marvel Comics to have like a female counter character basically to Conan. She's the mother of all Mary Sue's. I have to admit, but she was designed to be one. So it wasn't like they tried to make a strong female character and just made her Mary Sue. This one was a Mary Sue by design. She basically gets raped. Her family gets killed. She's left for dead. She walks off into the night and prays to a goddess for revenge. And the goddess hears her. She gets an increase in strength. She's not super strong, but she's stronger than most men. And she gets fighting prowess skills handed to her. It's just handed to her. And she will keep those powers unless she sleeps with someone. She's not allowed to sleep with someone unless the person beats her in a fair combat. Making everyone want her.
So basically, if the person beats her in fair combat,
he can sleep with her.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. She doesn't lose her powers though.
All right.
But anyway, she's definitely chaotic neutral. She'll kill the shit out of people if they piss her off. But she does try to do good things.
Mm-hmm.
But she works. She's basically like Indiana Jones plus mercenary, I guess.
I mean, you know the character better than me, so
yeah,
I like that.
She finds artifacts, and it's like Conan. She goes on adventures. There's a lost statue that's worth millions. Go there and try and find it, right? Or she's just she finds a trashed village with everyone dead, and she tracks down the villains and kills them, usually quite brutally. So there was a Red Sonja created by Robert E. Howard, and that's where they took the name Red Sonja. It has nothing to do with the comic book character except for the name. They had this, I think it was called Sonja the Red or something. She's in some story set in ancient Europe. So it's not a Robert E. Howard character. It's Roy Thomas. But great fun to read. So that's my number 2, Red Sonja.
All right. Well, chat, we are at the stage where we go into our number 1 choices. But before we do that, basically we recount our picks from 10 through 2. So for those who are joining in late before the replay, my 10 through 2 is Zatanna or Zatara, depending on how she's listed. Green Lantern, but Hal Jordan's Green Lantern. Hellboy, Venom, the Scarecrow, Spawn, Man-Bat, Barry Allen's The Flash, and Batman.
Okay. I have Lando Calrissian from the old Marvel Star Wars comics. I have the Hulk. I have Batman, Spider-Man, the Phantom, the very underrated Phantom, Lucky Luke, Donald Duck, Asterix and Obelix, and Red Sonja. Red Sonja, I do believe, is also ground zero for the chainmail bikini, because they wanted her to wear as much as Conan was wearing, because he's only wearing a loincloth and boots. But it's
There you
sexist
go.
to have her wear just a few things, but it's okay if he doesn't.
Yeah,
You know,
apparently, according to the logic nowadays.
yeah.
But we are on our number ones. All right, so
I bet you can
you,
guess what it is.
I probably could, but I'm too tired right now.
Well, it's Conan.
Yeah.
Conan comics, massive in Norway, big in the U.S. too. Uh, Especially the Savage Sword of Conan comics, which had literal paintings as covers. I'm not kidding; it was high quality, and they're the stories are thick. Usually you get one story in each comic, and they were like 70 pages, I guess, per comic, monthly release. They're also starting the Savage Sword of Conan up again next year, because it would have been 25 years since they stopped them. I think,
Mhm.
or 30, something like that. And
Nope.
Marvel had a Conan run as well. The second Conan movie actually follows a little bit of the comics. The first one doesn't whatsoever. The first one is Conan in name and atmosphere only, but it's still a fantastic movie,
Mhm.
but lore breaking. But yeah, Conan's kind of like Indiana Jones and James Bond. He has like a kick-ass villain with a henchman, right?
Mhm.
Usually a monster of sorts. He has some kind of save the village, save the damsel in distress, something like that, and he gets the
Mhm.
girl at the end sometimes. So it's basically a savage with a little bit of a heart. He has a moral compass. You know, uh,
Mhm. Yeah, I'd say that.
and big on adventure, and it's gritty, fun, brutal kills. Who doesn't like that? And he shags women without there being actual nudity.
Okay.
You basically don't see the actual shagging.
Okay.
You see them
I was
cuddle
gonna,
up
I was
each
gonna
other.
say, like, wait a minute.
Yeah, yeah. And if they are bare chested, the hair always covers enough. So it's not sleazy, but it's you know on the edge sometimes.
Mhm.
So they keep the sexual stuff to PG-13. The violence is
Yeah.
R, heavy R.
Mhm. Yes. So says Soul Assassin says tasteful nudity, but
Yeah,
R-rated in violence.
the Krull movie with Kevin Sorbo. Here's a weird thing: the first Conan movie, the which has James Earl Jones playing the villain, that villain is from the King Krull stories. He Tulsa Doom is never near Conan in the original work at all. He's part of a different franchise. And then they do the Krull movie, which is a rewrite of a Conan movie. Of a Conan story. They just switched the two around. It's weird. And I
Mhm.
think the original, it was originally going to be a third Conan movie, but development hell, and so they did a King Cole one, which is actually a fun movie. The King Cole movie, worth a watch. And Conan is actually, believe it or not, similar to Middle Earth and Tolkien, because both Robert E. Howard and Tolkien set out to write an alternative history and mythology for Europe. That's what
Yes.
both of them are.
Mhm.
Tolkien probably did it in more detail.
Well,
Definitely,
Tolkien straight up created like languages and
yeah,
everything. So
yeah. But Howard did it first, though.
Mhm. So, but all
That
right,
was it.
we are.
That was my number one.
Mhm. So we are at my number one, and Gravy said he thought that he could guess the number one. So I'm going to sit here for about 30 seconds or so, see if he guesses. See you, Orange Hat. See if you get
Does it
Superman number 1.
does it rhyme with a card game?
Well, there's what?
Poker?
It wouldn't rhyme, but yes, it's Spider-Man, Peter Parker.
Oh, I thought you already had him.
No, I didn't.
Oh,
He edged out Batman.
oh, I was thinking was the Joker.
No. It's Joker didn't make my list. I love the Joker, but I did not include him because I've it's kind of like Harley Quinn. He's become so oversaturated. I'm kind of like over him as a character almost.
Yeah.
But no, Peter Parker's Spider-Man edged out Bruce Wayne's Batman. And the reason why he edged out Bruce Wayne's Batman, even as much as I love Batman, as much as I love Batman, is the reason why is because if you're to talk to the SJWs nowadays, they couldn't fathom this, but I related to Peter Parker because he was a nerd and I was a nerd. He was quippy and I was quippy and so forth. And I very much gravitated to him as a character. Plus the fact that it's kind of ironic in a way because I have slight case of arachnophobia. I don't have it's not debilitating or anything, but I do have a slight fear of spiders. And it's ironic because I gravitated to a superhero who literally takes on the powers essentially, or the abilities of spiders, pretty much. But I don't know. I love his ability to climb walls. I love his ability, to web swing throughout Manhattan and New York City and so forth, pretty much. Well, I am a nerd, pretty much. But when I was growing up, I was very much a nerd, so I gravitated towards that character. I would watch the Amazing Spider-Man cartoons every time it was on. And so it's he had that nerdy awkwardness to his character, but when he became Spider-Man, it's almost like he was able to allow himself to have this alternate character. So he's very much had that quippiness and snarkiness to his character, especially when he was going back and forth with the villains, pretty much. So I don't think it's too much I can really need to say about Spider-Man because again, it's kind of he is the face of Marvel. Spider-Man is the face of Marvel, whether you like it or not. I would argue that he is very much. You ask anyone, name a Marvel character, most people's go-to will be Spider-Man.
Well, back in the day, on almost all of the Marvel comics I had, you had a little Spider-Man head in the top corner.
Yes.
Where it said Marvel.
Yeah.
I think it even did that on the Star Wars comics.
Mm-hmm.
By Marvel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he very much became the face of Marvel, and I agree with where's the comment up here? Michael Brent's comment up here where he's saying that they have the best rogues gallery of villains. I will argue that Batman has a better rogues gallery than Spider-Man, but Spider-Man is pretty much right up there with Green Goblin, Hobgoblin, Venom, Sandman, Vulture, and so forth. Pretty much, very much has a good. He's a good rogues gallery of villains himself. Yeah.
And you have Catwoman and the Black Cat, totally not ripping off each other there.
Yeah, Craven. Yeah, but at this point, like I said, I don't really care because Black Cat is different enough of a character from Catwoman that I can yes, there is that you can definitely argue. One inspired the other, very much so. But they are there's enough of a difference with the characters that they aren't not a complete ripoff. Yeah, Craven, and I love this quote. We all wear masks, Spider-Man, but which one is real? The one that hides your face or the one that is your face? Which one is the real mask? So, love that. Yes. But anyway, yeah, Mysterio. Sony used the silver Spider-Man on their movie logo for years. Yep. So Spider-Man made the number one. He edged out Batman. All right, but Batman is a very close second. Very close second, and I love both the characters, and I love both of their rogues gallery of villains. Like I said, I would always watch the Batman the Animated Series, and I'd always watch the Spider-Man series when I was growing up. That was amongst other things that I would watch, but those two were definitely I made sure that I was in front of the TV for. Another $5 super chat from Albert. Thank you so much. Peter Parker is the everyman. Even his origin story shows he's flawed, but as Spider, Toby said, trying to do better. Yes. Yeah, and he's not a perfect character. Neither is Bruce Wayne. Batman is not a perfect character either, which is, again, I love how it's they're flawed.
Spider-Man probably screws up more than Batman.
Yeah, they are flawed. They are not perfect by any stretch of the word, but that's what makes them relatable. Yeah, yes. I don't know exactly what it's like to be a fucking billionaire, pretty much, but I do understand what it's like, going through certain events, pretty much, and coming out stronger, with how Bruce Wayne does, pretty much, or being a nerd and quippy like Spider-Man. They're relatable.
If I became a billionaire, I'd be not a billionaire in a year. And I know it, because I'd be like, oh, shit, you need a new car? Okay, here you go. And then I'd be broke again in a year. I'm not kidding. I'm that.
I would be impressed, amazed, and just downright flabbergasted if you at all went through $1 billion in a year.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying. But what I would do is I would invest a chunk of that, so that way, I would have money growing. So by the time I'm ready to officially retire, so to speak, I would have just as much money, if not more so.
Yeah, I'd be paying off people's debts and all kinds of shit. Yeah.
The Spider has more compelling stories than the Bat. Yes and no. But like I said, both are the faces of their respective. Batman's the face of DC, Spider-Man's the face of Marvel, pretty much. So it's depends on. And it also depends on which run you read. But yeah, so that's my number one, Spider-Man. So we are at the end of this top 10. All right, so the next one would be. I gotta look at the dates. Because in October, the 1s and 2s are happening on the 18th and 25th to tie in close to Halloween, because we're talking about the first Halloween films. So the next top 10 will actually be October 11th, so in 2 weeks.
Oh, so in 2 weeks. A top 10 in 2 weeks.
Yes, unless we choose to skip it for next month, pretty much. But it would be in 2 weeks.
I'm fine with it. It's
all right.
It's your channel. It's up to you. I just show up to help out, right?
Well, I'm just saying, we'd have to do it in 2 weeks. Otherwise, because I said, Orange Hat and I are talking the first 2 Halloween films, and I wanted to talk about those close to actual Halloween.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
So, what I'm thinking about doing, since right now I'm a little too tired to think of something, you had the top 10 idea of top 10 films in a particular year, pretty much.
Yeah, because the chat can correct me though, but I got the impression when we did the top 10 movies per decade that you guys liked it. So I figured maybe do a top 10 per year, and we'd start in 1980 and then 1981 after that, and
Yeah, so if you all in chats are essentially liking that, The
Yeah.
next top 10 we'll do would be the top 10 films in 1980.
Yeah.
So
Of any
just
genre.
1980. So just 1980 top 10
Yeah.
films.
Yeah.
That'll be the next top 10.
I think I saw Trey Courtney having done videos like that, his top movies from certain years. So.
Oh my god, top 10 movies. Kevin Smith posts a crying selfie after he saw it.
No.
God, that guy became such a cuck. Anyway, but yeah, so the next top 10 will be top 10, your subjective top 10 lists from the year 1980. So
Yeah.
that's the next top 10. So next week will be the good, the fun, and the weird. And then after that would be the top 10, and then after that would be the ones and twos, which would with ones and twos will coincide with the singles I do on Orange Chat's channel. And next month on Orange Chat's channel, we'll be talking Bram Stoker's Dracula and Stephen King's Silver Bullet. So a vampire film and a werewolf film for October. Oh, and those in the chat that were watching my stream yesterday where I was suffering through the Mortal Kombat, I found at a cheaper price, and 2-day delivery, Zero Suits Samus on Amazon, which I actually am seriously considering ordering. But I found a cheaper, pretty highly rated version. And would this wig work? I don't know the character that well.
I don't know who that is.
So it's a Metroid Prime character. But I'm seriously considering ordering it because like the one I found on Amazon is like it's Prime and it's $50. And if I get the wig, that's another $23, so it's like $73, and that's not including the little bit of tax, which would be about $50 cheaper than going through the Easy Cosplay site that I use. I'm actually considering getting that as a costume to cosplay in while streaming or something. Yeah. Oh, I can use that Ghost video? Yeah. But there it is. So I wanted to show the chat that before I forgot, because I was talking about it last night while waiting for the stupid Mortal Kombat game to update. So yes. And this is where I'll be live tomorrow, playing as much as I can, most likely that public event or whatever it is for the X-Defiant game. If I can. If not, then I'm just going to play the Resident Evil 4 DLC. But anyway, Stieg, let everybody know where they can find you and all that fun stuff.
Right here next week for the good, weird, and the
good, the fun, and the weird.
Yeah, I'll get it eventually.
I literally tell them it's like a play on the good, the bad, and the ugly title.
Yeah, and then I start thinking the good for good news, and then I do another one, and then the ugly.
Yes, the weird. I didn't want to do the ugly. I didn't want to full on blatantly steal that title, but it was a play on that title.
Yeah, so that's where I get in trouble with the last one.
I tend to lean Scorpion, but I also like Scarlet. So I'd play as Scarlet. I liked Jade just because she had that bow staff. And yes, I will be ordering that Jade costume because Jade won the poll. Because she has a bow staff, and I tend to gravitate towards that weapon. But yeah.
I liked Raiden when I played Mortal Kombat. Probably because I just figure out moves for him.
Yeah.
Sonya Blade Because
Sonya Blade, I like in terms of like like what character I'd probably be most like, it would be Sonya Blade. But in terms of like playing the characters, I typically like Scorpion, Scarlet, Jade. Yeah, like So, but it depends. I won't go into details, but like like next time I'm talking about Mortal Kombat, I'll tell you how they ruined the characters in the new Mortal Kombat game. So, and they ruined Raiden. Raiden was one of the ones they ruined because they made him a regular Earth guy.
Now, he's a god. Even I know
Well,
that.
not in this timeline. He's no longer a god. He's basically taken on Liu Kang's role, essentially. So he's just an Earth realmer.
Oh,
He's given powers that we know from Raiden, basically the lightning powers and so forth. However, he starts out as just a normal Earth realmer, along with Kung Lao. Yes, so. But yeah, but tomorrow I'll be live on Twitch, like I said, either playing some of the public event for X Defiant. If not, then playing some of the Resident Evil 4 DLC. I will fucking defeat that boss. I'm like, just come hell or high water, I'm going to fucking defeat that boss. It pissed me off. Friday, I'm going to try to do a solo live stream in the afternoon on my live channel. And then, fingers crossed, if they fix the servers enough, for Payday 3, because I'm going to try playing that along with Calman Friday evening at some point. So tune in for that on my Kick Friday evening about 7:30 p.m. Eastern, thereabouts. And then I'll try to go live Saturday afternoon. If I don't, then definitely tune in Saturday evening for Talk Nerdy to Us, which will be on my channel that I do with My Nerdy Home most every Saturday, and this Saturday it will be on my channel. So if you're not following my channel, then do so and make sure you have the notifications on so you do not miss that live stream. But thank you everyone for tuning in. Again, next week is Good, Fun, and Weird. So if you have any articles that fit into those categories, feel free to share them with me, and I will try to include them as best as possible on the stream. So take care.
The more fucked up news, the better.
Yeah. Well,
to
an extent. I do not want my channel yeeted. All right.
To an extent, nothing sick. Just
yes. To an extent, because I do not want I worked hard building up this channel. I do not want to get it yeeted over something like that. But anyway, take care. Have a good rest of your day or evening, depending on where you are in the world, and we will see you all next week. Peace.
Bye.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.